using applicable sections. So these are some of the high-level sections that we had in our taxonomy. And if we kind of look at them individually, topics, okay, this seems to make sense, okay? We have secondary education, natural resources. These are all the domain-specific topics of the bank. They show this thing up in the top. I'm really big into the made-up words, aboutness, okay? Topics really describe what these documents are about, and we found that they were very, very useful. So we really focused our tagging on these topics. There was another section of the taxonomy on countries, okay? So this is kind of an obvious one. You know, there's so many countries made up of 50 or some member countries. Argentina, Colombia, Jamaica. And so yes, they were helpful to an extent, but what we found in talking with the staff at the bank is that if I'm building a bridge in Peru, or I'm building a bridge in Colombia, I want to see documents from both of those. You know, the building bridges is the topic, okay? So it kind of spans country. If I'm doing secondary education in Argentina, then bridge building in Argentina doesn't really help me. So the country, you know, even though it would seem to be matching because they're both Argentina, it really wasn't as strong of a match for the staff. And so we kind of still consider country, but we don't give it as much weight when we're doing that kind of similarity measure. And then we had a couple other, so the bank is divided into a lot of sectors, and these sector names tend to be a little bit lengthy, 6, 8 terms, and a little bit esoteric. And when we tried to tag content, you know, it worked better on shorter phrases, you know, single couple terms. The other thing was, you know, think about some of this external content that we're pulling in from other organizations, other newspapers. Does that content know anything about the bank's sectors? No, not at all. So it was really kind of fruitless trying to tag that. So we really downgraded, you know, some of the internal documents, yeah, that sector was applicable, but other places we kind of downgraded the importance of it. And the last, there was these document types, which are basically the type of documents. And really, they don't show aboutness. They don't really describe the content. They kind of describe the document, what type of document it is. So you really couldn't parse anything from the content about the document type itself. The most you could see is, you know, it's talking about other working papers or something. So it just wasn't a good fit. So again, keeping focused on the applicable sections and not, you know, knowing that your entire taxonomy, you know, might not be relevant to use in your auto tagging. Leveraging extraction scores. So again, the scores, we could just tell by looking at them that they did provide some insight. You know, we knew from our research that you couldn't use them as absolutes, but still there was enough to say, hey, there's something in there. At the least, is what it did is it kind of let us set some thresholds or baselines, okay? So that, you know, for us to consider a tag, it's got to score at least above this. So how that worked in practice is, the first time we tried to extract stuff, okay, we ended up with a set of tags, okay? So these tags described the document, okay? Was one any more important than the other? Nah, we can't tell. It just looked like a set of tags. And we really were struggling. We didn't really get good results with this. So we started looking to the scoring. Now look what happens when I add the scoring, okay? That gives you a little bit more insight, right? It tells you a little bit more that, hey, you know, this is maybe more about scholarship, this particular article, okay? All those tags aren't created equal. And now when we do a threshold and something like that, okay, now we can say, hey, only give us scores over 10 or something like that. And so now instead of our document being described by those tags, we're really on point. We've limited it down to 5 tags and you get a lot more accurate portrayal of what that document is really about. The next is using the corpus. So again, we talked about this, and this is a little bit harder to show. There's a little bit of that machine learning, that kind of black box nature to this. The important thing is that it allows you to upload all sorts of documents, so we could take a selection of each, and a representative selection. You know, we didn't want to just concentrate on one area. We wanted it to be it. And now that extracting, that engine, that model, is able to learn a little bit more about your content and give us a different set of scores, where before we were scoring based on basically, you know, the term frequency, which we learned maybe isn't the best thing, you know, because of that oversaturation. and the positioning, now it took in some other factors and some calculations, some heuristics that it was doing. And so we got some better scoring. It also leverages this thing called co-occurrences. So what terms appear with other terms? There's something called shadow concepts that we could end up leveraging too. So this corpus was really helpful in getting us more accuracy in our scoring.